Hello everyone, it's Cassie. Welcome back for another Trinity Stamps video. Today we're going to be playing with some alcohol inks and we're going to make some backgrounds. I was super inspired by this adorable stamp set called A Little Slow, because I have been a little slow on a lot of my card sending to any of my nieces or nephews. You can ask any of them. But this set is so cute. It's got that cute little snail, all the little pieces that go along with it, like the confetti and the balloon and the really great sentiments, and then the matching dies to go along with it as well. I was inspired by this color cube card. Sometimes when I am not, like, I just can't get it, I can't just pull it out of the air. I go to the color cube and I will be inspired that way. And I thought, I'm going to bring in some alcohol inks. I think that this is going to be fun to make some backgrounds this way. I had a lot of fun pulling out those colors, and we'll talk about those colors when we go to make the backgrounds. Now for the purples, I didn't have purples that matched exactly, so I decided to grab these two purples. They're obviously a little bit more blue violet rather than a red violet, and so that's okay. I think I'll bring this card back in the end and you can see how well we did. I'm also going to be using not Yupo paper this time, and Yupo paper is typically what you would use. It's a plastic paper. I decided to use something a little cheaper. This is poster board. If you're in America, you can get poster board at a dollar store or in like the art section of, Walmart or whatnot, and it actually works pretty well, and we'll talk about it a little more when we get to that also. Okay, so I've gone ahead and stamped out my darling little image. I did stamp it out 3 different times. I stamped it onto some Express It cardstock using some blackout ink by Ink on 3, and those are very good for alcohol markers. As you can see, I've brought in my Olos and I've put the colors up on the screen for you. We, again, were totally inspired by that color cube color combo, and so I just grabbed my colors based off of that. And so we're just bringing those colors back in. I started dark and went to light and then went back in with that dark as I needed it. All right, we'll move on to those blue greens. And I don't think I've ever in my entire life had frosting that was this color, but never say never. I think it ends up being pretty. So we're just going to use about 3 colors for this one. We've got our blue-green 2.4, we've got the 2.3, and then we're bringing in the 2.1 for the lightest in the center. And I really love how those are blending. Now, when I used to color with my Copics a lot. I still color with them. I bring them in, a bit. I've been struggling with having issues with a lot of them drying out, and, budget is one thing. So haven't been able to refill those. But I've been playing around with these Olos so much, if you've watched my videos, I've really, really enjoyed them, and I've gotten to know them a little bit better, and I'm starting to feel a lot more comfortable with these going dark to light. Now, I'll still do light to dark in some instances, but I have found that I am playing with these a little bit more using that dark to light technique, and I am enjoying that a lot more. So you may notice me go kind of back and forth with that. Today I just thought I'd challenge myself and do just the dark to light, and yeah. So we'll die cut that out, and then now we're going to move on to our backgrounds. Now, like I said, this is some poster board. It comes in a very big size, and you just have to cut it down. And I've gone ahead and put some alcohol blending solution all over that paper. And as you can see, I already have a couple of backgrounds already made. And I did different things with those. And I stuck with kind of keeping the same color order. So I've got my red, I've got my blue, and that red is a crimson, and then we moved on to Patina. Then we're going to bring in some Limeade here in a second, but I'm just having fun putting down color, a little bit of color at a time, and using my little, I forget what you call it. It's the little air pusher, alcohol ink air blower. I don't know. I'm sure somebody will correct me down below, but yeah. I haven't played with my alcohol inks in such a long time to make a background that it's like you got to remember things again. And there's always so many fun things to play with, but my goodness. Anyway, so the Limeade, and then the purple started with our cool Peri, and then our final color is purple Twilight. And I really like how that looks. I like that I've left some spots a little bit white. I like how there's darker areas, in some of those edges. I just like it. And then as you can see on the other side, the other two, how those kind of worked out. But this one's very different. the colors are obviously the same, but I really like how textured this looks. So we're going to set that off to the side to dry, and then we'll talk about each of our backgrounds a little bit. This first one that I did, that one's on the far left. Now I saturated my paper a little too much with the alcohol blending solution, and you can see how that worked out. It ended up soaking through to the paper on the back, and then it caused that problem. I'm going to end up cutting that off, but you live and learn, and this is why it's important to kind of play around with your stuff so that you know how things work, how that's going to go. I learned to use less of the blending solution on the next two, and in fact, I think for this first one, and even the second one, I started by putting the blending solution and then all my colors down and then kind of working around with that. Whereas you saw in that last one, all I did was put some blending solution and then I worked with each color as I went. So I'm trimming this down a little more. I'm kind of trying to get a diagonal from right to the corner. And then that kind of gets rid of the problem. And because I still want the red, I've brought in some red cardstock. So it's not using the red alcohol ink, but we still have that same color combo from the color cube by using the red cardstock. I have a card base. It's a white card base that measured 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches and scored at 4 1/4. So I'm going to go ahead and use some liquid glue to adhere down my red piece of cardstock to the very top. Trim that down just so it'll get covered. And then I'm going to glue down my alcohol ink background. And then that'll give us a nice little diagonal edge to play around with. All right. And so then the next one, I've decided I'm going to trim off that extra white. And at this point, I hadn't decided exactly how much I wanted to take off of there, but I brought in some of this like turquoise or patina type cardstock. I don't know the color of it, to be honest with you, or the name of it, or even where it came from. I have a whole stash of cardstock from the many, many years of doing card kits and things. So who knows which brand this is. All right, so I'm going to trim down my background just a little bit more, and then I'll save those pieces. I'll end up putting those on the inside of the card, but we're going to go ahead and glue our white piece or our patina piece down to the front of our card base, and that's going to go on that far right-hand side, and then we'll glue this piece down over the top of that more on the left-hand side. So then we'll have that pretty patina showing. Love it. And then for our final one, when I cut this down, it didn't quite measure 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. So I am going to have to, fix that. So it's not even very straight. So I'll just trim that up a little bit. When you're using poster board, because it's so big, you kind of have to freehand some stuff. Didn't work out. Anyway, all right. So I brought in this circle die. This one is the Clean Cut Layers Set A. I'm cut out a circle from the center, and we'll use that circle on the inside of a couple of those cards, but we're going to glue this down to that card base, and then we've got a nice white center, and then we can start placing things and putting stuff down, putting our little snails down. I'm going to use some adhesive foam strips on the back of our snails, and I'm also going to use them on the happy birthdays that I put on the outside. I don't do it for the sorry I'm a little slow just because I decided I didn't want to. But we've stamped some of those sentiments on the inside of our cards, and now we've got the other ones ready to die cut out, which we're going to have here. And then we can put some of those adhesive foam strips on the back of that. You'll see I have the balloon and I have some of that confetti that I colored. We're going to put those around on a couple of those cards just to use them up, and it adds to that birthday vibe for sure. And then again, we're going to use some of those adhesive foam strips on the back of the happy and the birthday for 2 of those cards. Once we get those all ready to go, we'll peel off that release paper. And I like how this one can go happy birthday diagonally. I think that's kind of fun. A little bit different. So all 3 of these cards use that same color combination. They use the same stamp sets, and they all look just slightly different. All right, so just making sure everything's nice and straight. Love how that looks. And then we can adhere this little guy down to the front of this one, and we're going to glue down those words. And just so cute how the die cuts out each individual word. And I do love that the adhesive foam strips tend to work on, I think, almost all of the sentiments from Trinity Stamps line, the ones that have the matching dies. That's one of my favorite things. I love having those dies for the words. It's a lot of fun. And they just look good. So I'm using my pickup stick here. Didn't work out for the big word, obviously, so we're going to just use our fingers for that. But we'll use that pickup stick later on because we are going to embellish a little bit too. And I'll take those that balloon and the confetti, and we're going to go ahead and adhere those down. But these are the pieces that I wasn't 100% sure which one I wanted. I had some poolside flatback sequins, and I also had the blue sky sparkle spots, and I decided to use the sparkle spots. So I'm going to be fairly liberal putting those all around using my pickup stick, and then we'll go ahead and glue those down. And like I said, fairly liberal, but that's going to finish off our cards for today. I really, really love how these turned out. So much fun to do. So inspired by that color cube, and I'm just thrilled with how cute these turned out. So there's that first one. Here is this second one. So cute. And then here's that third one with the circle cut out of the center. Now that you've gotten a chance to look at all three cards, I'm going to bring in that color cube card so you can see how well we did. I think it looks pretty good. And even if it's not perfectly matched like the purples, it gave us a base. It gave us a place to start, and I'm thankful for that. So if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button. Definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And as always, I'll see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.